Hey everybody, I am Sarah Weiss of Passion and Pickleball. Welcome to the Spanglish World Networks on Zingo TV, channels 249, 250, and 251. You can download the Zingo TV app on iOS and Android app stores. Don't forget to rate and leave a comment. This app is free and is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, and Fire TV sticks, Roku and Roku sticks, as well as all smart TVs 2016 and on. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am super happy to be back. I have an amazing guest as always, and I've got a little segment about why you should be playing pickleball. It is my understanding that a lot of you watchers haven't even tried it yet. Here's why you should. Because it's so fun. I mean, that answer alone, that one little topic alone should be the reason. We all need a little bit more fun in our lives, but not only is it fun, it's very social. It is something that brings people together. When you find your community in pickleball, you feel so welcome, you feel so happy and uplifted and joyous. I mean, it's better than sitting back and watching Netflix. I can promise you that. It is super, super fun. It's also really fast growing. So I've been playing for 2.5 years. And since then, I've already seen like monumental growth in this sport. So what's something neat about it is you're kind of like a pioneer. This just so the sport started in 1965, but it really only started to take off over the past like 2, 3, 4 years. So you getting in now and getting started and being, part of this trendy sport, you become kind of a pioneer. And that's kind of how I've felt, and you'll probably hear that from any one of the guests that I ever have on the show, that it feels really good to lead this sport into its huge glory, and like getting everybody addicted to it is really cool because you just watch people light up. You see people kind of change and evolve in this sport, and it's almost like it makes you a better person, unless you get frustrated about a bad out call. Then it could turn you the other way. That does happen, not gonna lie. But it's also really cool that this is a sport that you can play with all ages. So, I mean, I have my daughters who are 8 and 10 years old. They play. My oldest, 10 years old, has already joined one of my Heck Yeah Pickleball leagues. Which one? That one. Heck Yeah Pickleball. I had a league for beginners, and she was part of it. And she got to play with all the older adults, as well as people who are in their 80s and 90s. I was playing with a lady the other day who's 89 years old, and she is a hoot. She's amazing. Her name is Val. She's super cool. She came up one day at the park, and she had this bottle of water, and she's like, "Don't tell anyone it's vodka." I'm like, "I got you, Val. Let's get on the court so you can kick my butt." So it's for all ages. And the health benefits of this sport are incredible. I mean, the cardiovascular alone, just to get your heart pumping is really, really good for you. And something that I always say is activity is the fountain of youth. And I mean, use Val as an example. She's all there, like mentally, physically. She is so 100%. And the sport keeps her young. So it's a great way to stay healthy and fit without going too hardcore into sports, because it's pretty low impact. You don't have to run laps, you don't have to jump high, you don't have to be super strong or super fast if you want to get involved. And something that's amazing about it is that it's really easy to learn. It's got like this very low learning curve to get involved. So when you hop on the court, you just got to hit the ball over the net. That's basically it. So a little bit of hand-eye coordination and a little bit of movement, and you're playing pickleball. So I love that I've been able to see people hop on the court and really not know what they're doing. And a year later, 2 years later, they're starting to be competitive and start to challenge some of the better players, depending on, their background or their athleticism. And something that's really cool about it is it might be easy to get into, but then for the people who take it serious, there is a depth to it. So to become like a pro or elite level player, it's not like you just hop on the court and you can just do it, no problem, do it in a year. It takes IQ and strategy and repetition and drilling and good partners and being able to play under pressure. And like if you're doing tournaments, yeah, this is not like an easy thing for many people. You got to learn how to handle that stress and that pressure, and to be, challenged and pushed, and handle all the bad out calls and the lobs and all the shots that frustrate you. So there's a depth to it that makes it really interesting to push yourself and challenge yourself into getting better and better and better, which is something that I've embraced and have loved. It's also kind of versatile. You can play this outside, you can play it inside, you can play it on a gym floor, you can play it on concrete, you can play it on asphalt, you can play it on a tennis court. So a lot of tennis courts these days are adding pickleball lines, and something that I love about pickleball is that it's kind of taken over the scene. You see a lot of empty tennis courts out there wherever you are. Pretty much everywhere I've gone, I see empty tennis courts everywhere. Well, a lot of people are turning these tennis courts into pickleball courts because pickleball courts are packed at all times. There's not enough courts to go around. That's something that I noticed when I first got in. It's like an overwhelming amount of demand and very little supply. So I'm like, as an entrepreneur, I'm like, that's the combination that you're looking for as an entrepreneur. So lots of ways to play. It's low impact. It's family friendly. It's really family friendly. Like, again, I talk about playing with my daughters, and there's a lot of you'll go to a tournament, you'll see father son combinations playing in a tournament. You'll see mother daughter combinations playing in a tournament. One of the most famous mother daughter combinations is the Waters, Anna Lee and Lee Waters. They were champions for so long. And if you don't know who Anna Lee Waters is, she is the top female doubles player, singles player, just pickleball player in general. I think I read a stat today that in 2023, she has gone 50-0 in women's doubles, and she's professional. 50-0. She's amazing. She's amazing. So she gets to play with her mom when she's doing all right. But they were champions for a long, long time. And Annalie Waters, I think she's only 16 right now. She's playing. She was a champion, top player at 14 years old when I got in 2.5 years ago. So pretty cool, right? It's also it's like, my favorite part. Actually, I'm going to say this. My favorite part about it, the fashion. It's my favorite part. I've already mentioned this on the show, but the fashion is the best. I've got all these really cool skirts and dresses and tops, and you can really express yourself with the fashion. And something that makes getting into the sport easy is it's pretty affordable. I mean, the equipment alone is not like buying like this full hockey setup and skates and the equipment. You literally just need a good pair of shoes and a paddle. And the paddles can run you from anywhere from like $50 to about $300. But for a $50 paddle, gets you on the court, gets you getting to know the sport, and realizing, you're going to be addicted really quickly. It's kind of what happens to everybody. By the way, if you don't know what's going on at that little ticker below, these are all discount codes to get equipment at a discount price. So if you are interested in trying this out, take a look at the brands that you see scrolling below and take a look at the codes and use them. Hop on the court and get yourself into this. Don't wait. It's just too much fun. Here's what everybody says when they get started. I wish I started 5-10 years ago. Everybody says it. Every single person says it. So if you haven't tried it yet, try it. And with that, I'd like to invite my guest, Ernie Medina Jr., onto the show. Ernie has actually done some pretty amazing things in his life. Amongst being a public speaker and a PPR coach, certified coach, he's a USA Pickleball ambassador. He's also helped recruit players for the recent top 10 Netflix show called Living to 100 Secrets of the Blue Zone. Hey, Ernie, where are you? Ernie, get over here. I guess I'll just have to keep talking. But Ernie is a USA Pickleball ambassador. He's someone who... There he is. Hello.
I didn't know if I had to push anything. Hi,
Ernie, how are you?
Good to be here. Good. Thanks for having me on.
Good to have you. Yeah, it's really nice to see you. This is actually the first time we're finally connecting. We've connected over Facebook. He is, again, like I said, a USA Pickleball ambassador who works very closely with them and connected with me over some of the stuff that I've gone through that many of the watchers know about. And he's someone who really wants to make a really great experience for people in this sport. So definitely someone who needed to be on this show. And just to share a little bit about his background and why pickleball and what he's doing for the sport, in the sport, and as a player, as a coach. He kind of does so many things. So like there's so many avenues we can go with him. But first question, how are you?
Good. It's exciting to be here. Thanks. And I'm sorry we
Good.
didn't get to meet up at Nationals. I was looking forward to connecting with you in person, but because I knew this was coming. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's good to be here.
That's right. Nationals just happened in Dallas, Texas, and we were both there. We just didn't see each other. It was a great experience, though. I wish I saw you, but it's good to have you here. So I always ask this very
Thanks.
first question to everybody: why pickleball?
I know I've seen some of your other episodes, so I knew that question was coming. But I mean, in your intro, you said a lot of the reasons why I enjoy pickleball. I think though one of the differences that the reason why I enjoy it is my professional background is in public health and lifestyle medicine and preventive healthcare, that kind of thing. And so when before I got into pickleball, I was very active in other things. My nickname they gave me was the physical activity evangelist because I was always trying to promote people to be physically active. And I worked in a medical clinic for about 21 years after I graduated from grad school. I worked at a medical group for 21 years working with patients, trying to get them to be physically active because if they were overweight or diabetic or you know, uh, high cholesterol, whatever, exercise was one of the things that I tried to get them involved in. And so, but the problem was is that I was interested in things like ultimate frisbee or mountain biking. I'm also a coach with mountain biking, and I've done that for almost 30 years. And so that were those activities were too intense or too scary for people who were overweight, out of shape to do. I mean, riding a mountain bike on a trail is can be scary. So I wish I had known, like you said, I wish I'd known about pickleball back then because I would have set up a court in the parking lot and brought my diabetic class out there and would have had them all playing. But unfortunately, I didn't learn about it till about 2016 is when I got into pickleball. But yeah, I love pickleball. I'm passionate about it because I see it as a public health intervention, in that all those reasons you said, we're trying to get more people, here, more Americans physically active, and the national guidelines is what 150 minutes per week. That's easy to do when you play pickleball, right? 150 minutes per week. That's that's like one session, less than one session. So, but like you said, you could play it anywhere, set it up anywhere. So I look at it as a public health intervention uh, for getting all kinds of people into physical activity.
Yeah, I agree. It's funny how fast time flies when you're having that kind of fun. I have never done anything where I could get lost doing a physical activity and 3, 4 hours go by and it's like, one more game? Should we play one more game?
Yes, one more game. That's the
Yep.
common phrase. One more game.
We've all heard it.
Yes,
We've all
yes.
heard it. We've got people watching live. I just want you to know that you're being called the ninja, the best
Yeah.
supporter of
Oh,
the sport
yes.
and beyond, says Isaac.
Yeah. Oh, Isaac. Yeah, he's a up. We got to watch out for. He was there at nationals with his dad. He was one of those guys playing with his dad. Isaac is, I think, what I want to say, 14, maybe 15. I know he's not driving yet, but he's one of our up and coming junior pickleball players here in this SoCal area. So, thanks. So
Awesome.
keep an eye out on Isaac Hall. He's
My
he's
eyes
he's
on
going to
you.
be. He's
My eyes are
already
on you,
making a scene.
Isaac. Good, good. Yeah, feel anyone who's watching, by the way, feel free to add me on Facebook or Ernie as well. But yeah, Ernie, let's keep going. How about USA Pickleball? Tell me a little bit about what it's like to be part of USA. I know. So, just for a little context for everyone, pickleball is kind of like the Wild West right now. Everything is flowing and changing and evolving and growing like really, really quickly at like lightning speed. So every show, every week is like there's something new to talk about. So what's some of the
Right.
excitement happening in the world of USA Pickleball at the moment?
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad you brought that up because when I got started in pickleball in 2016, it was still it was growing, but at a very gradual pace, right? I mean, there were no commercials, there were no shows showing pickleball. It was just word of mouth and ambassadors. We were doing our thing, kind of thing. And so I remember pickleball when it was sort of just hunky dory family, kumbaya kind of thing. I mean, I held a to get you give you context. I put together a tournament, just sort of a fun tournament called the Halo Halo Cup. So I don't know if you're Filipino, if you're Filipino watching, you know what Halo Halo is. Halo Halo is a shaved ice kind of drink, dessert kind of thing. And it's a Filipino dessert drink. So I put this together, and you know, somebody by the name of Ben Johns showed up at our Halo Halo Cup of just 60 to 80 people. Today he would never be able to do that. I wouldn't be able to afford his appearance fees, right? but he was still a college kid on the rise. I mean, he was already top player, but so I've seen it when it was like that, and then to be involved with it as an ambassador, and now since 2020 on the board of USA Pickleball, to see, like you said, the Wild West and all the celebrities and the money and professionalism, the tours all coming onto the scene. It's been really interesting to see it from a 30,000 foot level, to see the development
Mhm.
from just a mom and pops senior type of game to now it's in colleges and high schools and the pro tours and all the different businesses and on TV and all that. So it's been really exciting to see that the trend.
Yeah, yeah. What is it that you do with USA Pickleball? What are some of the things that keep you going back and being excited to be part of the board?
Yeah, I well, so the board currently is still what we call a working board. We're very still active in there. So I sit on several committees. One of my main committees that I sit on is our grant committee. So we meet twice a week, and we go over grant applications. And we just had a grant meeting a week ago, and it was the first time that we needed to ask we had to get approval from the CFO to get more money because we exceeded the awards that were budgeted each year for grants for the first time ever. So, however long the grant program has been running, we finally are have used up more of our money before the end of the year. So that's been exciting to see and the grant money just goes to brand new places. It doesn't go to a facility that has already been running for a while and they want to upgrade it. It's just seed money to start and support new places. Like I started a pickleball location at my church up in Grand Terrace, which is about 4 miles away. So I did get a grant as an ambassador back in 2016. I got a grant to help buy some extra nets and some paddles. And so, and that place is still going. It's growing. They play twice a week there, open play, and so it's fun to see all these locations that are popping up every week. Every 2 weeks when we meet, we're doing that. So I'm on the grant committee. I'm also on the marketing communications committee. I'm on the ratings committee. I'm on the competition committee. So all of us board members serve on different committees. So we have to deal with specific issues, pertaining to that, whatever that committee is. I'm on the youth and rec committee, for example, as well. So we deal with things about rec and youth and all that. So yeah, it's fun to see what we have to do in that world as far as what USA Pickleball does.
That's amazing. I'm really glad you brought it up because the world needs pickleball. As we all know, this has been such a helpful sport for so many people. Lightens people up a little bit. And, for them to have this opportunity to get to know you, maybe it's time for some of us to reach out to Ernie and talk about getting a grant so that maybe somewhere in your community can have the opportunity to have a setup and, youth and recreation. This is such a beautiful sport for not only everyone but for the youth. I'm watching my kids grow up and
Hmm.
they get to watch me, but now they get to be part of this. If there's a way that someone has an opportunity to reach out to you and help their community, I highly encourage it. So what would be a good way for them to reach out to you?
Sure. Well, they could obviously email me at emedinajr@usapickleball.org. Or if they go on the webpage, I think on the USA Pickleball's website, there's a about us section, and then the list of the board members are there, and I think my email link is there as well. But that's where you could go, for example, for the grants. You could go there and see there's community grants and youth. There's community grants, youth grants, and collegiate grants. So there's three different categories. So depending on what you're starting up, and with the youth grants, you join this thing called YPP, Youth Provider Program, and then that comes with a bunch of resources. So if you feel like, oh, I don't know what to do or how to start a program or even how to teach kids, that's a really great way. I mean, Jason is the one that's put all these videos together that really help you to show how would you teach kids in a simple setting, even if you don't have a lot of equipment. So it's a lot of resources for people that need, if they don't know how to do that, they can do that, and that all comes with the YPP membership, which is very reasonable, and then you can be eligible to apply for a grant for your school or community group or like I say, collegiate group.
Awesome. Awesome. As someone who has such a focus on health and wellness, what are some of the experiences you've gone through that maybe inspire you or inspire others that has happened over your pickleball career and helping people get healthier?
Yeah, that's a good question. A lot of the times, the people I'm working with, for example, they might be like pre-diabetic. I remember this one friend. He was a busy CEO type person in the healthcare field, and he was overweight. He was borderline diabetic. He might have already been diagnosed as diabetic. He got, like you said, got tried it out, got bit by the pickleball bug and has been playing and playing and playing. And so he's lost weight, he's lowered his blood sugar, that kind of thing. And of course, I teach, I don't know if I can't remember if it was mentioned, but my day job. A lot of times people think I'm retired because they see all my posts on Facebook or Instagram, and I'm teaching pickleball or I'm playing pickleball or whatever, and so they think I'm retired, and that's all I do. But I say no, no, I actually have a day job. I'm actually an assistant professor here at Loma Linda University, and it's here in Loma Linda, California, which is part of what you mentioned earlier in the Netflix show about the Blue Zone. So if anybody's heard of Blue Zones, they'll know what Loma Linda is. And so I teach there, and I've had some doctoral students who have done their research on pickleball. One she did it back in 2019, and I remember at nationals then I was passing out little flyers for players to fill out her survey, and in just like 3 days, we had like over 1,800 players fill out her survey for her research. She was looking at perceived benefits and the addiction. We talk about addiction, how we're always addicted. So we actually used an addiction scale that's used in sports medicine research, and we use that. And the good news is that while we say we're addicted, we aren't at that clinical level of addiction where it's harmful. You know, so like in CrossFit,
Perfect amount
they
of
they
addiction.
yeah, it's a healthy addiction that keeps you coming back, but it's not so much that you could get seriously injured. Like in CrossFit, they push themselves a lot, and so a lot of them sometimes they'll get injuries and that kind of thing. Now, having said that, you were talking earlier before we started about people who go from zero exercise, right, to all of a sudden they love it so much, then they're playing 2, 3, 4 hours a day. Yeah, that would be like saying, "Hey, I'm going to run a marathon," and I've not run a mile or a kilometer, whatever, kilometer, and then all of a sudden you go out and run 10 miles in the first day. That's obviously not a good way to do it. But in general, though, it's a very safe sport, like you said, and so I'm looking for doctoral students who are going to do their research on pickleball. So yeah, it's a fun way to just get. I like looking at it from the health aspect, and I'm trying to do more research to do that at my university.
I love it. I love it. You should probably tell people what a blue zone is, because when you first told me about it, I didn't
Mm,
really know. And, to know
okay,
that pickleball was part of this Netflix series having to do with longevity, it's really, really interesting. So, do you want to talk a little bit about, what you got up to
sure.
with that Netflix show and what the blue zone is?
Well, so the Blue Zones is a National Geographic based study by Dan Buettner. He's the researcher with National Geographic, and it actually started almost 10 years ago. And what he found was he was researching different areas in the world where people lived longer than the average. So that's it's about longevity. And then he wanted to study, say, what's unique? What are these people doing that's different than everybody else? So he was going around the world looking at different populations, and he came up with 5 different areas in the world that he called blue zones. And so one is Okinawa, Japan. Another one is Icarius, Greece, Sardinia, Italy, Nagoya, Costa Rica, and the only original one in America, in North America, is Loma Linda, California. So Loma Linda got on the map in that sense through National Geographic of being, quotes, a blue zone. And so basically, if you Google blue zone and you look up, they have their 9 pillars, and they show what are the behaviors that all of these blue zones are doing. And some of them have their own unique behaviors, but there's a lot of things in common, like obviously nutrition is an important one. Physical activity is a very important one. All the different blue zones, they're very physically active in their own ways. Social, the connectedness, the social connection and family, that's a
Mm.
big part of the all 5 blue zones. So all the 5 blue zones have a lot of these similarities, and then each one has some of their unique ones. But Loma Linda is the only one. In fact, I don't know. Do you know Rusty? Rusty from Pickleball Channel.
Yeah.
He does different shows on pickleball. He actually did a Blue Zone pickleball show on Loma Linda. If you go on YouTube and just Google search for "Does pickleball help you live longer?" That's usually what people type. That's the title of the show. And if you look for "Does pickleball help you live longer" on YouTube, you will find that Blue Zone show that Pickleball Channel did on us. It's like 4 or 5 minutes, but it'll show you Loma Linda and our pickleball life there, and have some interviews with like my dean and some other professors that are there, and I'm on there talking about the Blue Zone. But yeah, that's basically what the Blue Zones is all about. And then that Netflix show was basically just a new show to update what they did, like almost 10 years ago.
Well, that's
So that was
exciting, and
shot
and I
like March
appreciate
of,
that you were part of it. Oh,
yeah, that we shot that like March of 2022. So he started in Loma Linda and then traveled around the world and then visited the different locations again, and some new locations, new Blue Zones. And then it's a 4-part episode. So if you search for that on Netflix, you'll see it Loma Linda in episode 2. And I don't know if I told you that, but my mom is the one that's in there playing pickleball. She's 85. She's the one that's in there playing pickleball. I'm in the background in the orange jersey, but she's the one that's the main focus of that. So
nice.
yeah,
It's That's awesome. It's so good to see people living their best life with this sport that, was only a couple years ago very obscure, very obscure. Not many people
uh
knew
huh,
about it. On my Facebook, everyone would tell me, "You're the only one I know playing it." And then now everyone's like, "You were the first." And now everyone is. So it's really cool to be,
yeah,
part of the pioneer group, right? You were part of the pioneer
yes,
group.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
I mean, I think about it because I was born in 1965. So I always like to say, oh, that had to mean something because pickleball was created in 1965, right? So I actually got to visit the original court last year, 2022, up in Bainbridge Island with my mom. So my mom and I were there, and we got to play on the original court with Fran Meyer, who's one of the Pickleball Hall of Famers. She's one of the legends, and she was at National. I saw her a lot there, and she's about in her 70s. She's still playing, and then also the guy that created the Ernie shot, which we all know and love. So Ernie Perry is his name, and he was up there as well. So we got to play on the original court, and I said to Ernie, I said, "Hey man, you got to Ernie me because." So I set him up for an Ernie. So I hit the ball. I knew he was going to Ernie me, so I set him up. He Ernies me. So then my caption is Ernie, 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 on the original court. So, so he's a really nice guy, very
he
friendly
is.
guy. But I said, okay, yeah. So it was fun to be there. But yeah, um, it's part to be, like you said, a pioneer, even though it's been around since as long as I've been alive. And I wish, I grew up playing tennis. My parents were into tennis. So I started playing tennis back when I was a teenager, 10, 11, 12. I started playing tennis. I grew up in Michigan. So, and this is back in the 70s. So I was playing tennis, and I picked up racquetball in college. And then I also added, and I've been playing ping pong ever since I was a kid. I mean, I'm Filipino, so every Filipino pretty much has a ping pong table in their basement somewhere. So I've been playing all those 3 sports pretty much all my life. And then when I found out about pickleball, which my mom was the one that introduced me to pickleball in 2016, then it was just an easy transition because I loved all those sports, and all those sports fit nicely, into pickleball. Like hitting an ATP, that's a racquetball rollout shot, right? You racquetballers, you're trained to wait for the ball to almost touch the floor, and then you're hitting the ball horizontal to the floor to try to hit the front wall, so it just rolls out. We call it a rollout, right? And so that's an ATP. So that's that. If you're a racquetballer, that's an easy shot. And then of course, when you're at the kitchen, a lot of that is ping pong, right? Because you don't volley like that in tennis. In tennis, you're taught to turn sideways and step forward and all this kind of thing. But so I tell my students, imagine the kitchen as a ping pong table. And so then you're standing square to it and then hitting it like you would the ping pong style. So yeah, so those 3 sports I find really lend themselves to pickleball. So I immediately got hooked the first time I played it. So, and I started with wooden paddles. We started with just a plain plywood wooden paddle. We didn't know any better. So Yep.
It's way too easy to get addicted to this sport. Like it's honestly, it's like that. Do you remember when you first played? Like what was the scenario that got
Oh,
you on the court?
well, you know what? I said that my mom was the first one to actually introduce it to me, and she was. I give her the credit. But you're Canadian, and actually, my very, very, very first time to actually try it was in down in oh shoot, Lacombe, Canada, and there was a university called Burman University. I was up there in January of 2016, and so that was nice and wintry. I was up there and I was doing some talks, health talks for the school, the college there. So on Sunday, I was leaving to go back to Calgary to get, or Edmonton to fly out. And so I was just, they had a health fair. So in their gym, and it was all inside the gym. So in the gym, they had set up a pickleball court. And I'd never seen it before. So I tried it out, wooden paddles and all. And I said, oh, this is pretty interesting, And so I just played a few rallies and that was it. When I came back home to California, again, this is January, I couldn't find it anywhere. There was nothing within a 20, 30-mile radius here in Loma Linda. So I said, oh, that was interesting. And I sort of forgot about it. Then in April of 2016, so this is, five, five, 6 months, or no, 4 months later, I went to Michigan to pick up my daughter from college. And my mom said, hey, come to our church gym. We're playing this game called pickleball. And I said, pickle what? And I'd sort of forgotten about it from my time in Canada. And she says, yeah, we're playing this thing called pickleball. I said, oh, okay, sure. It's got a paddle. I'm in. So I played it with them. And then that's when I really got hooked. And my mom actually had a temporary net. And she had asked me to sit up in her driveway because she didn't know how to put it together and all this. And it was brand new. So I set it up and we were hitting in there in her driveway. We had our first professional lesson by a friend her name is Laura Fenton Cavanda, who's a senior pro. She used to be a 10-time, and she was on the professional racquetball tour for 10 years, in the top level of the tour. And she would stay at our house here in California whenever she was playing in tournaments here. Then she retired from racquetball and then got into pickleball. So she happened to be back in Michigan because she's also from there as well. And so she taught us our first lesson because we had no idea what we were doing. So she gave us our first lesson in my mom's driveway. Then when I came back to California, I ordered my own net. And then when I came, by this time it's now July. So by this time I came to the local tennis court here in our local park, set it up, invited a handful of friends, about 9 friends, 8 friends, and that was our start of pickleball here in Southern Cal. And from that, I called it the OG9. So from that group, we just kept growing, 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 growing. We kept hopping around to different places, private tennis courts, and all kinds of places, till we finally went to the university. And from there, it just exploded. And then founders of all the clubs around Loma Linda, Riverside, Grand Terrace, Highland, Yucaipa, Redlands, they all came from our group. And so now when you come here, there are huge clubs, public courts. We got the city council in Yucaipa to give us the Yucaipa club $500,000 to build more courts. And so now they're in the process right now building those courts with a covering, for the summer in the sun. So it's really nice up there. So yeah, it's just nice to see it go from 9 people in this area to now every city around us has pickleball courts, pickleball clubs, and it's just so many people now. I actually came on my own courts here at the university one time, and somebody was introducing me to somebody that I'd never met before, and they were talking to me saying, "Oh, so how long have you been playing pickleball? Are you new to the sport?" And then the person that introduced us started laughing and said, "Oh, he was the one that started it here, got the courts changed and all that." And they were like, "Oh, okay." So I mean, that's okay because it's that many generations now of friends of friends of friends of friends, and they don't know me from Adam. And so, it's cool to see that though. So it's spreading all over the place, like you said.
Yeah. Well, whether they know it or not, Loma Linda thanks you.
And I always credit my
Yeah.
mom because if you watch the Netflix show, that's why they call her, the godmother of Loma Linda pickleball, which people say, wait, the people who know us say, how could she be the godmother of Loma Linda pickleball when she lives in Michigan? And so, but then they know the story that if it wasn't for her, I probably would never have continued playing. I mean, I'm sure it would have come here eventually, but we sort of filled a donut hole of pickleball because we're about an hour from Indian Wells, right? So Desert had pickleball. We're about an hour from LA. There was pickleball there in LA and OC and Tustin and Pasadena. There was pickleball there. So we were like in a donut hole of no pickleball in our region of Southern Cal. So now it's filled in all the way to those locations. If you go along the 10, 91, there's pickleball all the way through all those places. So yeah.
Good. Well, when I visit you, we'll have lots of pickleball to play, it sounds like.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
Good. Good.
Exactly.
As someone who's so focused on health, what are some tips that you would give to pickleball players or potential pickleball players to keep them in their best health and well-being on and off the court?
Oh man, I'm so glad you asked that because I coach, PPR certified. So my job, it's not even a job really, but my mission is to introduce pickleball to a lot of new people, right? I have no aspirations of going pro, you know, it's and all that. So I'm more focused on the everyday person, just getting them in. So one of the things, several things I talk about, if you're just getting into pickleball or considering it, one is you want to definitely make sure you have good shoes. I see people playing in Crocs, flip flops, running shoes, and unfortunately, I've seen my share of people fall because they're wearing improper shoes. I've seen somebody break, break things, break bones because they were wearing the wrong shoes. So I'm always a stickler for that. Is like, hey, you need to get the right kind of shoes. Court shoes, even basketball shoes would be better than running shoes. Any kind of shoe that allows you to go, that's designed to go in all directions, right? So like basketball, you go in all directions. So, but a tennis shoe is fine. There's of course pickleball shoes, but you can get tennis shoes. So proper shoes. And then one of my special missions that I hope by the time I turn off the board at UC Pickleball will become one of the rules is this right here. I don't know. Can you see that?
Yeah.
See
Ah,
that? What is
goggles.
it? Yeah. See,
No
so
to
I'm
naked
really
eyeballs.
So I created this. I created this logo with a friend Cheryl from Florida. She's a optician and all. Eye. She's in the eyes. So we came up with this idea to try to sort of promote uh, the wearing of eye protection because tennis players, unless you're wearing sunglasses because of the sun, you don't wear eye protection, right? Because the ball is you're far away. I never got hit in the face, in tennis. In all my years of playing, I never got hit in the face because you have plenty of time. Um, Racquetball, you have to wear goggles. I mean, that's if you're playing racquetball without eye protection, you're crazy. So yeah, that's mandatory. So in pickleball, people, especially if they're coming from tennis, they think, oh, we don't need it because we never wore it in tennis. Well, as you and I know, you're a lot closer. You're 15 feet away, right? When you're on or 14 feet away when you're on either side of the kitchen. So you're blasting that ball. And now, as we all know, the players are faster. The technology makes the game fast. I mean, the game has sped up tremendously from when I started back in 2016. Okay, so it's and now that we're seeing more young people play, I saw one pro. I won't mention their names, so I don't want to embarrass them or anything. But her kids were playing in a sanctioned tournament, USA Pickball sanctioned tournament, and they were no junior division, so they were playing in the 3.0 19 plus, and their kids. I think her kids are like 8 and 10 or something like that. So, but they're really good. I mean, they're solid players, but their heads are like right above the net level. Okay, and they're playing adults. And I remember this one rally. I was watching the live stream, and they hit a short ball in the kitchen. The kid ran up there, got the ball, but of course, sometimes he popped it up just a little bit too high. The adult guy was right there. And of course, what is he going to do? Boom, he just smacked it back down. And it came right to the boy's face. And he turned his head just at the last second. And so it bounced off his head. Okay. So it hit him on the top of the head. And he sort of fell down, but he wasn't hurt, bad, he wasn't hurt. But I think he was a little startled because then they called a timeout. He came back and he was, crying a little bit to his mom and dad there. And of course, the adult players came over there. Oh, we're so sorry. Are you okay? And all that. I mean, everybody was concerned. So I'm like, you know what? I tell people I have been hit from my head to my feet with a pickleball, right? I've been hit on all place. And the only place I would not want to get hit without protection are my eyes. That's the only place that if I got hit there, if I wasn't wearing my glasses, that I could get seriously injured or permanently injured that would prevent me from playing pickleball. I could get hit in the face, in the mouth, in the leg, you know, in the, I mean, anywhere else, it's not going to be serious, right? But eyes, so we try to promote this, and my goal is hopefully maybe to, this is my own personal dream, is to make it so that sanctioned USA pickleball sanctioned play, you under 18 players have to wear eye protection because again the game is getting faster, and it's like why take that risk? It's 100% preventable. So if you got these kids that are coming up and are up and coming, and they want to play with adults, right? The good kid players want to play with adults because they can beat all the other kids, so they want to play with adults. Well, the adults either are going to play them strong or they're going to like baby them, and they'll say no, don't play them normally. But then you're going to do a third shot drive if you get a good ball to drive, and then if that hits a lot of times it's not even the drives that hit the people, right? What kind of shots usually hit
Net.
us in the face?
It's the
Either
net.
the net, it hits the net and then it jumps up, or your paddle, right? It hits the edge of the paddle and then
Mhm.
deflects, or either
Yep.
your paddle or your partner's paddle. I've seen it where it hits the partner's paddle, ricochets, and then hits the partner. Okay.
Yep.
And that happens even at the pro level. I've seen that. So that's why I
Mhm.
like Anna Lee, Megan Fudge, the Brasha sisters. They all wear eye protection. I've seen Anna Lee playing at night, and she's wearing clear eye protection. So yeah, so I made these stickers on my own. People can email me. I send them out for free. You can put it. I have them on my water bottle here, and so just to try to promote PSA kind of thing. And eventually, maybe if it does become a rule in sanctioned play that U18 players, kids under 18, have to wear eye protection in a sanctioned tournament, I think then once we get those kids doing it and getting used to it, like Isaac Hall, who I told you is one of the juniors, he wears eye protection all the time. He doesn't wear glasses, but he wears eye protection when he plays. So that's why I call him one of our ambassadors for this. So if we get the kids to do it, by the time they grow up and they're adults, guess what? It's going to feel weird playing without eye protection, because if you're used to playing with it, then you're going to feel weird. And it makes me feel more confident in firefights and hand battles, because I know and
Mm.
I've gotten hit in the glasses many times, and so I feel more confident. Whereas if I wasn't wearing glasses, if I was wearing my contacts, because I used to wear contacts as well, I would be really afraid of firefights and hand battles, because I know what would happen if I got hit in the eye. And kids, especially, I learned this from an ophthalmologist that plays pickleball. She said kids' foreheads are still forming, so a lot of kids, their eyeballs protrude further than adults. So
Mhm.
if you look at most adults, at least Caucasian adults, the socket is deeper, right? But if you look at young kids, the socket is not as deep, so their eyeballs are actually further out. So they're even at more risk than an adult. Then if you look at some of us like Asians, I mean, we don't have deep sockets. So we are at risk all the time, even as adults. So even your physical skull structure, your anatomy, can make you either at higher risk or lower risk depending on your your ethnicity and all, and your age. So that's why I think every kid. And so when I teach kids, I really insist and even provide loaner eye protection for them, and encourage the parents to find them something to wear while they're playing, and just get used to it from day one. So, and then
Yeah.
warming up is
No.
the other big thing. Warming up beforehand. But anyway, those are my two big foot, feet, and eyes.
Well, I was just gonna say I've seen the kind of damage that it can do to eyes, and it's scary. I mean, you can get hit by a
Oh,
ball almost anywhere, and it'd be like, "Ow!" But if you get hit in the eye, that can be irreparable, right? So protecting your
yep,
eyes is
yep.
probably a very wise decision. You were also going to mention warming up. I think that's a great thing to bring up.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of times people, they're so excited to get there. They want to get in right away. They want to start playing right away. And so we really want to talk, and in fact, actually, in the last Pickleball magazine, there was an article that I forgot I had written, but it was about injury prevention. And I wrote about dynamic stretching, dynamic warming up versus passive stretching. And so dynamic warming up is movement, going through the different motions to warm up. And there's a lot of good on video on there's a lot of coaches that have done YouTube videos on dynamic stretching or warming up for pickleball. But you want to do that. I do that in the beginning, and then at the end, you're supposed to cool down and stretch and warm up. I'm not so good with stretching post. Usually we're done, we walk out, we go out someplace to eat, that kind of thing. But you really
Beer
should
and
cool down
wine.
and then stretch afterwards. So, but beforehand is really the critical. And I've seen so many people, blow out their Achilles, rupture their calf muscle, the gastrocnemius, because as we get older, those things just get tighter, 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 and all of a sudden you're lunging, you're stopping, you're going all over the place, and then all of a sudden, boop, it pops, and you're out for 6 months. So
I've
it's like,
seen it.
hey, just do 5 minutes. Oh, you've seen it, and it's
Yeah,
very
they
painful from what I've heard.
I've seen it twice actually. Both of them
Oh,
had the same reaction. They thought that someone from another court hit them with a
yeah,
ball in the back of their
yeah.
calf, and they went down. They're like, "Who hit me?" And they're like, "No, that's not what happened."
That is the classic sign of a ruptured gastric thing. That they will say that every single it feels like a golf ball or a baseball hit them in the calf. So I asked them that. So when somebody says, "Oh, my calf," and they're down, that's the first question I asked them. I said, "Did it feel like somebody hit you?" And if they say yes, I say, "Uh oh, that's that's not a good sign then." So yeah, that's exactly what unfortunately I've seen too many times. So
Yeah, yeah, that's a common
dynamic
one for
warming up, dynamic stretching is critical uh, before you start playing.
what would you say is a
Yeah, hitting
good,
a few
dynamic
dinks.
stretch for the calf?
Oh, oh, for the calf.
Mm,
You could. I mean, doing things like jumping jacks, high
mhm,
stepping, uh, easy lunges. I do all different kinds of things like that to try to warm up the calf and the lower legs, and I also my hips. I'm pretty tight in my hips, my hip flexors, and also I'm doing like pendulum swings with my leg. Now, if you have a
mhm,
hip replacement, you want to be careful about that as far as how you do those kinds of things. But in general, if you don't have a hip replacement, you can do a lot of these dynamic warm ups, dynamic stretches. Just skipping, even just skipping
mhm.
across the court, side shuffling, you know, marching
Yeah,
back and forth. I mean, there's a lot of and then so I look at the different parts: legs, torso. So just twisting my shoulder, of course, shoulder and arms. So I'm doing like windmills and that kind
yeah.
of thing, going through the motion, just nice and easy, just to mimic the motion, get the blood flow going. So
Good, good.
those kind of
One of my
things.
favorites is butt kicks. I like to do the butt kicks. I'll stand
Oh,
still and I'll run and kick my
yes,
butt. It's good to get the quads going.
yes, yes,
Good, good.
yes.
What
That's a
are
good
what are
one.
some
That's a good
practice
one.
drills like on the court that you like to use to
Oh,
maybe warm up or just to drill with your partner to say get better?
well, I'll answer this way first. I love drilling. I mean, I love drilling actually probably more than playing rec play. I mean, I love rec play, but I love drilling because I just get a lot more hits and all. I was just drilling this morning with my drill group. I have two drill groups, but I have a document, a drill guide that over the years, every clinic I've been to, we've been to Morgan Evans, Ben Johns, the Newmans, Joy Farias. We've had all these pros come and do clinics, and I collect all the drills. So I put them in a Word document. So if anybody wants a copy of all those drills, and I've broken them up by sections, volley drills, ground stroke drills, resetting drills, all
Mhm.
that. But my favorite is the trio drills that I call the survivor drills. So it starts off at the baseline. You have people, two or one at the kitchen line, and you're feeding, and you're just trying to survive at the baseline. Just keep trying to drop it, drop it, drop it. They're attacking you, whatever. And it gives you practice attacking as well, right? And then we do that till 11, rally scoring. Then we do it from the transition zone. And again, just going for the reps, attacking, attacking, resetting, counterattacking for the transition zone. And then the third round, the third one is then what I call one and go. So that's where you then drop it and then you just try to work your way to the line. So that way, you get your reps at both places. Plus, then you get the feeling of ending it with moving to the line and then dropping it and then playing out the point. And we again do rally scoring game to 11. So that's probably my favorite set of drills I do all the time because in gameplay, that's where I've seen reset, being able to reset from anywhere on the court. To me, is probably the biggest thing I can keep working on.
Totally,
So that's my
totally.
favorite drill.
Yeah. No, those are all great drills. How can someone get those drills? Because, I
Just
agree with
email me.
you.
Just email
Drilling
me.
is, yeah, good, good. Because drilling is so
Yeah,
important.
they
And
just email
honestly,
me
if
and
you
I
want
can
to get
send them the
better,
word. Yeah.
yeah.
Because see, that's the thing. I teach a lot. I teach a lot. So I'm teaching pickleball. So and then so I don't have a lot of time for rec. So for the 2 hours, 2.5 hours, 3 hours, and then we play afterwards at the drill. So for the 2 hours or so I'm drilling, that's like how many rec games that I would have to play to get the same number of resets from the transition zone, right? So
Yeah.
for the time, the ROI, you can't beat it. So and we play drill games, so it's not just mindlessly hitting ball after ball. I mean, I'll do both, but we play a lot of drill games. But yeah, they just can email me. I'll email them the doc. So that's no problem.
Awesome. And your email again?
Medina, EMEDINA JR at usapickleball.org.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, Ernie. It's been such a pleasure having you on. What would be the last thing
Yeah.
you'd like to say to the world who's watching you?
Well, I would just say, pickleball, mirrors like life. It the best parts of life. It brings all types of people together. I've met so many different people in my short 7 years all across the world. So it really is it brings people together. It's social, like you said, and it can really, I think, help us connect better. I've had some of my best friends now from pickleball. And so I would just say, give it a try. If you've been sitting on the fence, you've been hearing about it, just try it. Don't worry how you look or how you play. Just get out there, have fun. That's the key thing. Have fun, and then everything else will follow. So
I agree. I actually met my boyfriend at the US Open. We both play pickleball together, so it definitely can connect us. Ernie,
there you
you are
go.
amazing. I really appreciate your
Okay.
time and thank you for everything you've done for the sport and everything you continue to do with USA Pickleball. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Oh, thanks. Thanks. Well, I'm here to serve. So if anybody has any questions, kids, they can email me and share their thoughts. I can do what I can.
Awesome. Awesome. This show can also be heard on the Spanglish Radio Network. Please check out spanglishworld.ca for all news and programming. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, live it.